Once upon a time, in a land not so very far away, there lived a little girl. And although this little girl's parents hadn't brought her up very religiously at all, she was quite determined that she was the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. Which is a bit strange for any 7-year-old. She'd wear a little beard and go around in sandals, blessing stuff, and she could forever be seen walking amongst the poor and the homeless, consoling the drunks and the drug addicts, and generally consorting with the type of people her parents didn't deem suitable for a 6-year-old to be consorting with. Each time they would drag her home from some unsavory place, she would stamp and scream and throw her dollies about. And when her parents would counter that,
Jesus never stamped and screamed and threw his dollies about,
she'd reply, that was the old Jesus, get it? Well, one day, the little girl slipped away yet again, and for 2 horrifying days, her parents couldn't find neither hide nor hair of her, until they got a phone call from a priest they didn't know saying, your daughter's down here giving us a lot of shit. It was cute at first, but now it's getting really irritating. Well, the parents didn't care about any of that. They were just happy that she was alive, and as they sped downtown to the church to pick her up, in their haste, they careened into an oncoming meat truck, were beheaded, and died. The little girl was informed of the news. She cried 1 single tear and not a single tear more, as she thought Jesus would have done if he'd lost his parents in a particular beheading. And she was shipped off by the state to live in the forest with some abusive foster parents, who hadn't informed the state that they were abusive on the form, who hated religion, who hated Jesus, who hated anybody, in fact, who didn't hate anybody, and who, as would follow, hated the little girl. She bore their hate with a happy heart and forgave them, but that didn't seem to work. When she insisted on attending church on Sunday, they took her sandals away, forcing her to walk over craggy stone and broken glass, and when she got there, she'd kneel for hours, praying to her Father in heaven to forgive them, only to be told off for bleeding all over the church. She'd receive a beating for coming home late, although no time had been for her arrival. She'd receive a beating for sharing her food with the poor children at school. She'd receive a beating for cheering up the ugly kids. She'd receive a beating for wandering around looking for lepers. Her life was a constant torture. Yet, she bore it with a smile, and it only made her stronger. Till this one day, when she met a blind man, begging on the roadside, she mixed a little spittle in with the dust and rubbed it over his eyes. He reported her to police for rubbing spittle and dust in his eyes, and her foster parents got her out of the police station. They said to her,
so you want to be just like Jesus, do you?
And she said, finally, you fucking get it. And they stared at her a while. And then it started. Her foster mother embedded her daughter's head, a crown of thorns made because she was too lazy to make a proper crown of thorns, while her father whipped her with a cat-o'-nine tail. And after an hour, when she regained consciousness,
do you still want to be like Jesus?
and through her tears, she said, yes, I do. So they made her carry a heavy wooden cross around the living room 100 times until her little legs buckled and her shins broke. And she could do nothing but stare at the little legs going in the wrong way. And they said to her,
do you still want to be like Jesus?
And she almost got sick for a second, but she swallowed it down so she wouldn't look weak. And she looked him in the eye and she said, yes, I do. And then they nailed her hands to the cross. And they bent her little legs back around the right way, nailed her feet to the cross as well. And they sharpened the spear, and they said to her,
Do you
Still want to be like Jesus?
and the little girl swallowed her tears, and she took a deep breath, and she said, no, I don't want to be like Jesus. I fucking am Jesus. And her parents stuck that spear, and then they left her there to die. And they went to bed. And in the morning they were quite surprised that she wasn't dead. So they took her down from that cross. And they buried her alive in a little coffin with just enough air to live for 3 days. And the last voices she heard were her foster parents above calling out,
Well, if you're Jesus, you'll
rise
rise
again in 3 days, won't you?
The little girl thought about it for a while, and then she smiled to herself and she whispered, exactly, exactly. And she waited and she waited. 3 days later, a man out walking in the woods stumbled over a small, freshly dug grave. But as the man was quite blind, he carried on by, sadly not hearing, a horrible scratching upon bone a little way behind him, that ever so slowly faded away and was lost forever in a black, black